And we're back to the shit show of French politics.
A podcast where I educate my husband through the complicated turmoil of French politics.
We are Muriel and Nast. And please, if you want to engage and share your thoughts, your comments, and whatnot, always with a good, polite, constructive tone, we're more than welcome to do it at Political Shit Show.
This is part 2 of our discussion on the fallout of the French parliamentary election, which concluded last week with the staggering shock of President Macron losing his absolute majority in parliament, the leftist coalition noobs making quite a good score, but not as good as they hoped, and the far right Front National gaining a staggering 89 parliament members, making it the third bloc and political force to be reckoned with. And this is actually the second part of what I wanted to discuss, is that we have seen this week an arm wrestling between the Front National and the Noobs coalition around who will be the main opposition group, because in terms of added force, the Noobs is first, because once they've added everything, they are close.
130 something.
Yeah, with some parliament members that were not registered from the overseas islands, so they are getting close to 140 parliament members. But this is a coalition of 4 parties. The biggest one in this coalition is La France Insoumise, with something close to 70 or 75 parliament members. So less than the Front National. So of course the Front National immediately started saying, no, we are the first opposition group because we are the biggest party. And it is symbolic, but not only symbolic, because some very important positions in the parliament hang on who is considered the biggest opposition, because it gives you specific powers. And right now, it doesn't mean it's dead for the Noobs, because a lot of these positions are subjected to a vote. So if they keep the coalition strong and if they all vote together, they will still manage to be the main opposition force, because it goes through a voting process.
So I think that, I guess there are efforts, and that there is people super invested, left, right and right, center and right, trying to erode the integrity of the coalition,
to put wedges into the coalition. Absolutely, and they've been working so hard for it. But right now, it seems like the Noobs is holding. They had their first intergroup coalition meeting, and they came out with big smiles on their face, saying the coalition is still holding strong. And it was not a given, because as soon as the Front National started harping on, oh, we are the bigger groups, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, so leader of La France Insoumise, made such a stupid move, and I really appreciate Jean-Luc Mélenchon's political savvy. What he did with building the Noobs coalition was tremendous. But yeah, I think he sort of panicked with the notion, or with the Front National trying to hog the attention. And so in a press conference, he declared,
Jean-Luc, shut up, please, shut up, don't go there.
Yeah, exactly. And so what he said was, declaring in a press conference that to be sure that the Noobs would be the first opposition group, they should really merge and form a single group, which was not what was in the deal. It was clearly stated that there would be an alliance, they would vote together on the subject they agreed to, but they would still have 4 different groups. And even within context of the parliament, it's stupid, because the way the parliament works in France is that each group, so a parliament group is formed once you have an alliance of 15 parliament members or more, and each group gets a dotation in terms of financing, of collaborators, of speaking time in the assembly. So if you have 4 groups that have agreed to work together and you fuse them in one, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot, because it means that you're going to lose part of your possibility of action. And yeah, my reaction was for, shut up, why are you asking for that? It's stupid. And I understand the fear and the notion of no, symbolically we need to state that we have the bigger group, but it's not even that important, because what's important is voting together, not having a single group, because the important position that usually go to the biggest opposition group, it's just because there's a vote. So it doesn't have to be necessarily the biggest numerical group, but just whoever gets the most votes. So in this context, it makes sense to keep the different groups separate. So after Jean-Luc went to say no, let's merge the groups, and all the rest said no. There was you see, the NUPS is already dying. But yeah, so far they are holding up. But yeah, it's very tense. The first big vote for these parliamentary position will happen on the 30th of June. And normally the NUPS should have it, except if the Conservatives vote with the Front National. So it's really going to be a live testing.
So if the Conservatives the rally behind Front National, then they will get the control. The main opposition group
control
role.
Yes. So will they go this far just to block the left?
We cannot underestimate them.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. And
they need to protect France against the Islamo-Marxist wave.
Yeah, exactly. But an example that's very...
I am being ironic.
That's very baffling. So a Macronist parliament member that used to be a conservative was actually Nicolas Sarkozy treasury manager, who has been implicated in a couple of corruption cases, obviously. And so this guy called Eric Woerth said, paraphrasing here, the NUPS said that they would use the parliamentary power to exert some fiscal control and examination, and the Front National said nothing of the kind. So I think it would be better to have a Front National at this position.
Who said that?
A guy called Eric Woerth, who used to be conservative and who has just recently joined the Macronist, and he had this position, so he knows the power it entails pretty well. But it's sort of, okay, you kind of played yourself here, saying that you would rather have a proto-fascist than a leftist, because the leftists are going to look a bit too closely at your finances.
But that's the thing, Amor, that at the end it's something that we mentioned when we were talking about the extreme right, and is that politically or economically, the positions of the extreme right, there are some particularities about how they look on local market production and manufacturing, and have a more chauvinist approach, or a more nationalist approach to economy, and less globalist. No, but besides that, their macroeconomic positions are neoliberal and are pretty much conservative.
Yeah. So absolutely. So it's unsurprising, but still a bit baffling at times.
It might not be clear for the population, because they don't say it. The messaging they project and the messaging they craft is very emotional, and we are the ones that are going to take care of you, and really we are the mother state or the father state, and we're going to really protect your childhood, your values, your society. So they are sending all those messages as part of the emotional wrapping of their campaigning. But on the other hand, their economical proposals, as far as I know, are pretty much protectionist and neoliberal at heart.
Yeah, absolutely, and even on the side of the Macronist, in the first few days following the parliamentary election, there were a couple of Macronist parliament members and ministers who were clearly testing the waters in that, but the Front National was elected, so now they have a parliamentary legitimacy, so we'll be working with everyone who will have us, and if we need to pass some reforms for the good of the country, and we need the votes of the Front National, then we'll go get those votes. And I feel like it was a bit of a test run, but it hasn't worked very well because these declarations were met with an outcry. So very quickly. The minister in charge, the Macronist minister in charge of parliament relationship and parliament negotiations said this is a quote that of course this is a no. We are not going to put ourselves in a situation where we would be depending on the vote of the Front National to get a parliament majority. But at the same time, they haven't said that they would not accept their votes if it just happened that they would be willing to support their policy. So the Macronists are really still being a bit ambiguous on, will we be working with the far right or not? Well, we'll see. We leave the door. We'll leave the door open. We don't want to close anyone.
Let's hope that it doesn't turn out that way, because it sounds to me like the perfect formula for Marine to be in the presidential palace in the next election.
Oh, absolutely, and it's a huge fear of the left. It's been discussed like, she's got a huge parliament member. She's going to get normalized even more, and now people don't do and she's been normalized so much that now people don't want to do the barrage vote, saying that no, we will vote for anyone so that the Front National doesn't get there. So it's an actual concern. Yes, absolutely. And the other question you were asking is, can the leftist coalition hold? Well, we'll see, because as any coalition, and especially on the left, where we love to bicker, because that's what you do when you're trying to have progressive policies that not everyone agrees on what and how to do it. But like I said, so far it's been holding, except for a couple of let's say salty statements from the former presidential candidates. I think I mentioned it in a previous episodes that the former presidential candidates, especially in the Green and the Communist, have been very salty about the alliance, since the whole point of their presidential candidacy
for
was,
different reasons, I guess, no? Because the Green was very much the neoliberal German Green, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, exactly. But fundamentally, there is a connective tissue in that. They all had a presidential bid with the idea of, our party is important as an independent force, and when they all tanked but Mélenchon, the conclusion was no. Now La France Insoumise is the main, the biggest bloc on the left. So the only way we can move forward is to have this alliance, and they managed to make it. But for the former presidential election, who are still in the mourning period, it's a bit expected that they would say, no, we are still relevant, we should keep being independent, we shouldn't be dissolved and mixed in a coalition. But it's been rather a minority discourse. Like I said, it's just disappointed loser candidate being sole losers, I would say. But however, the leaders of the political party, especially the socialist leader, who is really having a bit of a state of grace, because he's been very active communicating about how much he believes in the alliance. And again, it's a long-term bid in maybe at some point the Socialist Party could be rebuilt with an actual leftist policy. So I feel like his bid is to rebuild some credibility for the Socialist Party, and worst case scenario, still being relevant within the coalition. But I've listened to a couple of his speeches, and is actually rather good. And like I said, since he's been rid of the neoliberal socialists who have all gone rogue socialist, the guy seems really he's really glowing in his public presentations.
Who again? Who is this character?
A fellow called Olivier Force, who is the current first secretary of the Socialist Party. Long career in the Socialist Party, but when he became first secretary, he had to handle the presidential candidacy for the socialist, and it didn't work so well. And he also had a lot of internal opposition when he said that he would take the socialist to be part of the coalition. So the fact that now he seems to be happy with being part of the coalition, and usually being rather positive on the coalition in his speech, it makes it a stronger lie, actually. Then regarding the Green, it is a bit of the same, meaning that the more, like you say, German liberal Green have been defeated in the presidential election, so they are still there, but you don't hear them much. And it was a very big divide, because also another half of the Green Party was coming from climate activists, more left-oriented. So I feel like the Greens are rather happy, and through the NUPS coalition, they have managed
more emergency-oriented, I guess, no? Because
yes.
my take will be that this candidate, and I have read nothing of them, but just putting two and two together, this candidate and his bloc within the party are probably just trying to push for investment in innovation, developing new technologies for carbon capture, continuing
reformism,
the same industry standards. So bad green, no, this kind of wishful thinking of innovation will get us out of it. We just need to invest and attract investors towards these areas of the research and development space.
Yeah, exactly. And for both the Socialist and Green, the coalition deal has been a rather good one, because the Socialists managed to save all of the parliament members and even gained 5 more. So they have no. They went for 27 to 32 or something, not 100% sure. For the Green, it was a big win, because they didn't have parliament members at all. Okay. And they hadn't had for quite a long time. And now they have a full group also ranging close to 30 members. So they're going to have a much bigger role than they had. And I would say that the most sore point is really the communists, because right now they only have 13 parliament members, so they fall short of being able to form a group, but they're probably going to get a couple of unregistered left at the moment, so they probably end up having their own group, but close. And like I said in a former episode, 10 years ago, they were allied with La France Insoumise, and there were conflict of people, so the alliance didn't work so well. And 5 years ago, they elected their new leader specifically on the program of, we'll have an independent presidential candidate. We're going to take our independence again from La France Insoumise, so that the Communist Party can maintain its own identity and its own presence in the leftist landscape. And it tanked. Their candidate made 2.3% at the presidential election, close. So it was a bid that failed, and having to acknowledge this failure and getting back with La France Insoumise when the whole point was to distance themselves. They're still a bit salty about that. But again, it's divided, because you have the proponent of the independence line that are clearly still very bitter, but you have also some of the communists who say no. we've never been stronger as when we ally with La France Insoumise. Our program align 90% of the time. It doesn't make sense to stay divided.
What do you think are the main political political conquests or main political topics that are going to be brought to the table by Renaissance in the next year and a half?
The pension reform. I mean, now it has become so not only importantly for political and budgetary take, but it's also symbolically the last reform that Macron tried to do. It launched 2 months of major strikes that were only interrupted by COVID. And right now it is the only reform point that has been really very much present in the discourse of Renaissance.
Is there something about European military alliance or?
Not so much. Maybe we can make a full episode on that, because I read in some foreign press that there was some concern about how it's going to impact the European Union, because France is such an important strategic partner. But everything that is foreign policy, it's called the reserve domain of the president. So that's one of the few things, with nuances, because if you have to translate a European directive into French law, you still have to go through Parliament. But as far as international policy and diplomacy is concerned, the president can still decide a lot on his own. So on the European politics front, it shouldn't have a major impact. But right now, what is in discussion is so as you know, we are in the immediate context of the United States overturning Roe v. Wade, the guaranteed access to abortion. And so now there is a push to write the right to abortion in the French Constitution.
Because it's not.
Because it's not, and actually that's where also there's a lot of hypocrisy going there, because
well, but that's an easy win for Renaissance, because yes, Renaissance doesn't have it's neoliberal, but in the sense also of being socially progressive, no, in that kind of things.
Yeah, but where it gets interested is that in 2018, La France Insoumise submitted a law to write abortion right in the Constitution, and La République En Marche voted against, because they didn't want to antagonize their right-wing base.
The conservatives again.
Yes, exactly. And the argument was, but the right to abortion is absolutely not threatened in France, contrary to other countries. So it's very safe. No need to write it in the Constitution. And so last week, La France Insoumise put out the law proposition again, and just 12 hours later the Macronists put up their own proposition of law. So with that, there is a strong chance that it will go through, but yeah, they are also being commented on, in that you voted against it in 2018, and now that the left is pushing it again, you are saying that you are going to do it just one day later. And what's really galling is that in the mainstream media, they do not say any of these. They say, Renaissance is putting forward a law project to write the right to abortion for the Constitution. No mention that 24 hours prior, the leftist coalition did the same, and that as early as 2018, the left was asking for this right to be written in the Constitution, and La République En Marche voted against it. So only imbeciles don't change their mind, but at some point the political opportunism is starting to show.
Unfortunately, I will take it. I mean, whatever it takes not to get that codified into the Constitution. I will probably say let's swallow. No?
Oh yeah. I'll absolutely take it.
For one of the next episodes, maybe I can gather some intel about the different policies that have been passing around feminist policies in Spain from Podemos around reproductive rights, around the codification of abuse and assault and so on. So it's a very, I think they are doing quite an interesting job, quite a good job on different parts of the policies, equality policies. No?
Yeah, I personally would be very interested because for years the image of Spain in France was, oh, it's a bit of a macho country and it's a bit backward, and in a couple of years regularly popped up that Spain passed this law, progressive law, Spain passed this progressive law. It's like, wow, that's awesome, and it's putting the French politicians to shame with how behind we are in this kind of policies.
Well, that's what happens when you get the extreme left in a government coalition.
The radical left.
Okay,
On this scary note,
yes, dun, dun, dun.
we'll be off for today. Thank you.
Thank you.